Cool. So today we're going to talk about how to tackle belly fat. So this is for you if you are the type of person who is struggling with the tire that you find around your waist. You've tried to do everything, you've done all the things to try and get rid of it, yet you're still holding onto it. And sometimes this stomach area can be quite stubborn, particularly what mums call the mum pouch. So we're going to run through a few things of how we can help this and how we can fix it. Things that you can do to help prevent getting it as well in the future. So I'm going to start off with a myth, okay? You can't spot reduce fat. So no matter how many crunches you do, whether you do 100 crunches, 200 crunches, you're not going to be burning your belly fat. Don't get me wrong, you will be doing exercise and you'll be burning calories, but it's not specifically going to be targeting and burning the fat around your waist. So what it will be doing is essentially building and strengthening the muscles underneath the fat, but it won't be specifically reducing fat from that area. So fat loss is going to happen systematically, and your body, based on your genetics, is going to decide where it comes from first. And we can't change our genes, but we can change our habits, and we can build our strength, and we can build our confidence, and we can do exercise and adapt elements in our lifestyle that are going to help with this belly fat. So let's jump into why do we have belly fat? So essentially, there are lots of reasons why you might have belly fat and why you might be holding the weight more so around your tummy than other areas. The first of all is excess calories. Essentially, if you are consuming more calories than your body is burning, then they're going to form into fat. If they can't be used as energy, they need to be stored somewhere. And you'll typically find, especially for women, this is often held around our belly area, especially as we age. Another reasons why you might be finding that you're typically holding on to belly fat is hormonal changes. And now there's a range of different hormonal aspects that will be affecting this, but typically it'll be estrogen in decline, particularly as you're going into like the perimenopause phase and also the menopause phase. Is that there's a shift in fat storage. So if you usually find that you hold the fat around, say, your hips and your thighs, it'll often then go upwards into your stomach. Also, cortisol, which is also known as the stress hormone, that can increase your abdominal fat. So if you are somebody that holds it here, perhaps that's one of the elements you might need to reflect on and see if that's something that could be influencing that. Insulin resistance, it's not commonly spoken about, and it really should be. It's really common as you age, you go into your 40s plus. Um, Insulin resistance can make it harder to lose fat and easier to store fat. And often, again, that will be around your stomach area. Another reason you might be finding that you're holding fat around your stomach area is lack of physical exercise. We all know that the calorie output has to be greater than the calorie input. But what are we doing around that to help aid fat loss? So if you have quite a sedentary lifestyle, then it means you're going to be burning fewer calories. If you're not exercising, then you're typically, or not doing strength training, you're typically going to have a lower muscle mass. If you have a lower muscle mass, you're going to be having a lower resting metabolism, which again means it's easier to gain fat. Poor diet and alcohol consumption. I guess this goes back to calories a little bit. But if your diet is high in added sugars, let's think biscuits, cakes, soft drinks, fizzy soft drinks, then you're typically going to be adding in additional calories, and also a lot of sugar can be held around your stomach. Refined carbs, white breads, pasta, don't get me wrong, they can be great for energy, but if they're not being utilized as energy, then again, where do they go? If you're eating ultra processed foods, this can lead to an increase in fat storage, and that will directly go again, often go around the belly area. Now let's talk alcohol. If you've never tracked your calories before, if you're new to tracking your calories, then you will be astonished how many calories drinking alcohol will add on to your day, especially beer, wine, and cocktails. Not only is it the calories that you're consuming when you have alcohol, but when you drink the alcohol, your body concentrates on trying to get the toxins out of the body. So, in the background, all the energy that was burning the fat is now, in fact, trying to get the alcohol out of the body. So you're not burning fat, you're reducing the amount of fat you're reducing whilst you're trying to get that alcohol out is actually considerably lower than it would be if you weren't drinking alcohol. That's not to say don't drink alcohol, but it is to say to be mindful of what you're drinking and when you're drinking it, because it can have quite an impact. Sleep deprivation and stress. I know I'm talking to a lot of mums. It's so hard. I do totally get it. It's hard to talk about or try and get more sleep, particularly if you've got young children. It can be quite unpredictable how many times a night you're going to be waking up. But once you get past that, if once you get past that stage and your children start sleeping through the night a little bit, it becomes a little bit easier. But let's talk about if you're having less than 6 to 7 hours sleep. If you're having less than 6 to 7 hours of sleep, it can raise your cortisol, so your stress hormone. Again, as we've just learned, that can prevent you add more weight around your waist. It can also increase your cravings. You know when you're tired, you know when you're sleepy, the first thing you want to reach for is typically the biscuits, crisps, chocolate. You're looking for that, your body's looking for that instant energy. That's what it's so craving. It wants the sugar, it wants the energy that's going to lift it up. But little does your body know it will then come crashing down. So it's for us to tune into what we think we need and then adapt it and find the food that best suits how we're feeling. Less than 6 to 7 hours sleep can also increase our long-term stress. Again, lifting up the cortisol, which equals more belly fat. And it's really hard. As mums, particularly working mums, we're juggling all sorts of things, from juggling our work, our careers, parenting, cleaning a house, the laundry pile. It's never ending, right? Which again can add to your stress load. So it is hard, but ultimately, sleep is a real contributor to weight gain, lack of sleep. So when it comes to aging as well, aging and muscle loss, this is one of the areas from the age of 30, as women, our muscle mass starts to decline. It sounds very dramatic, but it does slowly start declining, and it's slightly different age for everybody. But it is from about 30 onwards. But there are things that we can do to adapt that. So if we're adding on resistance training, we can protect our muscles, we can build more muscles. The less muscle mass we have, the lower the metabolism, the belly fat is easier. Belly fat becomes easier to gain and much harder to lose. And one of the last and final factors when it comes to storing and holding belly fat is actually genetics or medical conditions. Some women are genetically just store fat around their belly, and it's a real pain. Like, yeah, it's not ideal, it's not great. Nobody really likes it, right? But unfortunately, it's the way. And also sometimes for women, it can be the first area to gain fat and it can be the last area to lose. And that's really infuriating. You have other medical conditions such as PCOS and underactive thyroid as well, which can be a contributor to that. But things like that are, if that's even a consideration or something you're thinking about, then it's definitely a GP. GP needs to help and advise on that one. So we've recognized now how to go about figuring out what, like, the possible contributors and the factors that might influence that. But how do we lose it? That's all what we need to know, right? So Number one, movement. Losing fat, movement, strength training. By strength training, you're going to be building lean muscle mass. If you're doing it 3 to 5 times per week, that's an ideal window to be in. Also, if you can top it off with a dash of HIIT training, maybe once a week, or even finishing your workouts with a little bit of cardio, a little bit of HIIT training, then you're going to already be in that fat burning zone, and that's just going to accelerate your calorie loss. Also, when you're doing your strength training, it's not necessarily just about the calories that you're going to be burning during the session. You're also going to be burning a lot more calories at resting. Now, that is because when you're sitting down watching TV, you're going to be burning more calories the higher muscle mass you have. That's because your body is busy repairing your muscles and working, and it'll be burning the fat. You need to make sure when it comes to movement, when it comes to exercise, that you're being consistent in whatever form that is. I don't mean consistent like having the perfect workout every time. I mean being consistent as in turning up when you should be turning up, trying your best on the days when you don't even want to be, just showing up on the days you don't want to be, just making sure that you're forever giving it your all. And you can't, and just don't give up on it, right? Rome wasn't built in a day, nor is your fat loss. It's a long journey. For a lot of people, it's a long journey. It can be a struggle. It can be difficult. There's no other way about it. Some people find the journey easier than others. Some people find it more of a struggle. But ultimately, when you reach that goal or when you get to that point, you know that it's going to be worth it because you're going to feel so good for doing it. You need to be thinking of fat loss as like unzipping a sleeping bag. It won't necessarily all come off at once, but most often it will come off in one direction. So you'll either lose weight from like top downwards or you'll lose weight from bottom upwards. But it is slightly different for everyone. So another way to lose fat is focusing on your nutrition. And we all know that you need to be in a calorie deficit. You need to be eating less calories, consuming less calories than you're burning, right? But there's a sweet spot. If your calories are too low, then it's going to have the opposite effect. Your body's going to go, you're going to be tired, you're going to be fatigued. Your body's almost going to go into a bit of a shock mode where it's actually going to be taking not from your fat stores, but it'll be taking from your lean muscle mass, any food, any carbs that you're eating. And then lastly, it might take from your fat stores, but that's going to be the last place for it to go if your calories are too low. You need to be making sure that your sustainable calorie deficit is about 300 to 500 calories less than your maintenance calories. And if you don't know them, let me know. And I will work them out for you. And I can give you a sustainable calorie deficit. You need to be eating a high amount of protein because if you're eating a high amount of protein, that's how you're going to maintain your muscle mass. I'd recommend eating about 1.2 to 1.4 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. And for fat loss specifically. If your goal is something else, then you need to be looking at a different amount of protein. But again, drop me a message after this. And if you have any questions on it, let me know. Including carbs and fats in your diets. Now, when I'm talking about fats, I mean the healthy fats like avocados, olive oil, nuts, nut butters. They're really good for you for energy. And we need to keep them. People typically see the word fat and they will opt for the low fat version of the yogurt. They'll opt for the low fat version of everything. Don't do it. Opt for the full fat version. When you opt for the low fat version, 9 times out of 10, there's added sugar. And that's going to have the opposite effect. That's going to cause you to peak and then crash. Whereas if you are opting for the full fat version, you're going to be getting the energy that your body needs. And you're also going to stay fuller for longer. So don't avoid high fat natural foods, healthy foods. Eating fiber is going to be a really good way as well to keep you fuller for longer. And ultimately, when it comes to nutrition, I'm sorry, but it's a lot about willpower. Trying to stick to a diet can be possibly one of the hardest things, but you can't out-train a bad diet. Step 3 on how you lose fat, particularly you need to be focusing on your sleep and stress. We run through this before and it can be really hard. As a mum, it can be so hard, particularly if you have young children. Getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night for some mums is like, yeah, I'm kind of taking the mick, right? But ultimately, it does get easier as your child gets older. They will be sleeping for longer. So once you're out of the trenches of having the young kids, things do get a bit better. And when you do have younger children, I think it's a matter of focusing on the quality of your sleep, and things like magnesium, having a high iron diet can also help improve the quality of your sleep. For stress management, writing everything down in a journal, writing it down in a book, getting everything that's in your brain back onto paper, and doing mindful practices like deep breathing, meditation. And whilst, yes, it's, again, being a mum, perhaps we've got other things that we might want to prioritize, but doing things like that is not necessarily just going to help you with your weight management, but it's also going to help you with your patients, help with the people around you, help you feel a little bit better on the whole. I should really practice what I preach a little bit more. I'm not great at doing things like meditation and deep breathing, but I know that sometimes I do give it a try. It's something I definitely need to improve on. And lastly, alcohol. Our dear friend, alcohol. If you are truly wanting to lose fat, lose weight, alcohol needs to be limited. Alcohol prevents the body from losing fat for up to 36 hours after drinking it, which is staggering, right? So if you're drinking a few times a week and you're trying to lose weight, your body is so busy trying to get rid of the alcohol toxins from the system that it focuses on doing that instead of focusing on fat burning, which is quite detrimental if your goal is to lose weight. Not only that, it's going to dehydrate you, it's going to fatigue you. You're going to feel tired after you've had it. You're going to feel tired the next day. You're then going to start wanting to reach for the sugary food, carbs, sugary snacks. And again, it will just kind of put you on the downhill spiral again. Ultimately, it's going to decrease your willpower for making your food choices, making good food choices. It's going to make you feel a little bit crappy. You're going to make you feel a little bit less like working out. But here's the thing. Once you get to your maintenance weight, you don't need to necessarily cut out all alcohol. And I'm not saying to lose fat, you have to cut out alcohol. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that at all. If you seriously want to lose weight quickly, then yes. But after you've got to your maintenance weight, there is nothing to say that you can't have a few glasses of wine a few times a week, because it can actually have a positive effect. That's not me saying drink alcohol either, but it can make you more relaxed, which will reduce your cortisol levels, so your stress levels, because it makes you feel less stressed. So it can have a positive impact when used in the right way. So what to expect from fat loss? Here are some tips or things to take away from this, right? It's different for everyone. It's not one size fits all. You're going to have fat loss isn't a quick fix. You can't click your fingers and lose all your fat. It's going to be a long, hard journey for some people. It's going to be quicker and easier for other people. If you do it the right way to start with, if you're following a dedicated plan, if you're doing your strength workouts, if you're keeping your steps up and monitoring what you're eating, you're going to have a lot more success in losing that weight quicker. You need to be aware as well that the scales lie. Okay, as women, the scales can be cruel. They're not always a good representation of our fat loss, because you'll find that a lot of the time, sometimes the scales won't even budge, but you might have lost centimeters from your waist, from your hips. And to monitor that, what I'd always recommend doing is taking a tape measure around your hips and around your waist weekly, same time, same day, every week, to see and monitor your size going down or changing. Because when it comes to the scales, it looks at your body composition, not necessarily your muscle mass versus your fat. You need to be celebrating the non-scale wins as well. So by that, I mean clothes fitting better. Have you got more energy? Are you in a better mood? How do you feel about yourself? Because that is one of the key contributors to exercise. It's not all about fat loss. It's not all about building strength. It's about how you feel, how it makes you feel in your mind, how it makes you feel physically and mentally and emotionally. But ultimately, losing fat and building lean muscle mass is going to help aid for your long-term health. So it's a no-brainer. If you're in a position where you want to lose fat and you want to start building muscle, get stronger, strength training is the way to go to do it. Keeping your step count high, keeping active, and following a clear, concise plan of how to do that. So that in a nutshell is my workshop today about belly fat. Hit me with any questions that you have. Drop me a DM with any questions that you might have after this, and I will be more than happy to help you. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will speak to you guys soon.